Back in Boston, if you're willing to brave one of the city's transit options this summer, there are some free concert offerings ahead, with one locale celebrating a big milestone this year. 90 years of free concerts on the Esplanade. And once again, the Boston Landmarks Orchestra will be back in the middle of it all, with the summer of shows looking back on the music that started it all, as well as ahead to the future of the series. This year's lineup of free shows on the Esplanade features collaborations with the Museum of Science and the New England Aquarium, and performances by local musicians and high school students. It all starts next week. Here with a little preview are the orchestra's executive director, Joe Francis Meyer, and music director, Christopher Wilkins. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Can you start off by telling me the origin story of this orchestra? How did it come to be?
Well, the founder of the orchestra was Maestro Charles Ansbacher. He came to Boston with his wife, Swanee Hunt, who was heading up the Women's Studies program at the Kennedy School at Harvard. And Charles had conducted all over the world in various capacities. What he really believed in was the public role that art can play, whether it's visual art or sculpture or architecture. And he saw music could have that same way of elevating and ennobling space. And so that's where our name comes from. Historically, we've played in important parts of Boston, underserved parts of Boston, and so forth.
And you talked a bit about his philosophy, but can you tell me more about it and the orchestra's philosophy too? Because my sense is that you are trying to bring a certain type of music to a variety of different communities that aren't necessarily used to accessing it in its traditional delivery forms. Not to sound too bloodless about it, but am I getting it right?
Absolutely, that's very true. We have picked up on Charles Ansbacher's vision, and we're also carrying forward Arthur Fiedler's vision that he started 90 years ago. And Chris has had a concept of diverse programming, radical hospitality, radical inclusivity, and access. So when you see our concerts and look on the stage, you are going to see professional musicians. We believe in artistic excellence, but you will also see from week to week a group of students from Camp Harborview who have been working on a piece with a composer in residence that we've sent out to the island. You will see kids from Zoomix. You will see kids from Conservatory Lab Charter School playing side by side with our musicians. So it's a pretty amazing thing to see, and that's how we try to include everybody in the city.
We have a little clip which I want to roll of a fairly recent concert. Let's take a look, and then you can talk to me more about what we're seeing here. So tell me a little about that performance and about details of the performance that maybe highlight the points you were just making.
That's the Korean three-drum dance. It's a composition which marries Korean traditions with orchestral music by Brooke and Kyle Newmaster, brothers and sisters from Minnesota.
So it's a new composition.
It's a new composition that incorporates old Korean art form. And Dance Night, which that was last year, is a wonderful example of how we use community participation to create a very diverse kind of programming. We've highlighted Armenian folk musicians, Syrians, Colombia, Puerto Rico,
so
Cuba.
So not your sort of classic Central European canon, right?
Orchestra's incredibly versatile. I mean, we are great collaborators, and so we bring in the entire face of Boston if we can. And we speak about Arthur Fiedler. I think he did much of the same thing, but Boston looks very different today than it did in 1929 when he started the free concerts on the Esplanade.
So we saw, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, we do the great works of the Western canon, but we do all of what Chris has just described as well. And another feature that Chris created a number of years ago is something called the One City Choir. And every summer we try to have a big orchestral work that requires a big chorus. And we recruit choristers, volunteer choristers from every single neighborhood in Boston. And one year we had choristers from 44 cities and towns in Massachusetts. So
really?
We had 175 volunteer choristers singing with us. So it's another way that we bring the entire community to the Esplanade.
We saw the performance. You've talked about what is occurring on stage and how you add parts that people might not be used to seeing in a classical performance. But What does it feel like in the audience? There are many people, I think myself included, who think of classical performances as places you go to and then sit in terror, afraid that you might, hiccup or
Sneeze
something.
at the wrong time.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the feel like in the
We're
audience?
lucky, because we're outdoors and everything's free, and we can encourage people to bring their dogs because it's a state park and you're allowed to bring your dog. We encourage it, but we sort of take advantage of the informality and the spirit of fun that's present. We, for example, set up a maestro zone next to the stage where mostly young people can come, stand on a podium, look at the conductor's music, get a little conducting lesson with a baton and that sort of thing. I would say what characterizes our programming more than anything is participation. So we just find ways, whether it's on the stage, whether it's in neighborhoods, whether it's at the level of the audience itself, to just get people involved. And you'll find people up and dancing at our shows a lot. You can't really do that at Symphony Hall.
Right.
It's an unfair advantage to be at the Hatch Shell.
Go ahead.
And one more thing I wanted to say about access and inclusion. We're very proud that in 2014 we were designated by the Massachusetts Cultural Council as one of the first 14 UP organizations in the Commonwealth. Universal participation, universal access.
Yeah, I was trying to fake
there are
it
now
like I knew what it meant.
59 organizations. This is 2019. We were the first orchestra, and so we have. We're very proud of everything we do to accommodate those with special needs coming to our concerts.
Congratulations to both of you and good luck on the new season.
Thank
you,
you.
Adam.
Thank you so much.
Christopher Wilkins, Joe Francis Meyer. You can catch the first show of the season next Wednesday at the Hatch Shell at 6 p.m. For more info and the full season schedule, head to landmarksorchestra.org.